Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
And today we're going to talk about BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea, which is a DLC with two parts, and we're talking about it all at once. Yeah, so before we jump into it, though, we've got a quick review we want to read, which says, one of my favorites. There are a lot of video game podcasts out there, but none encapsulate the ins and outs of video game storytelling so well. High quality audio, great host, and top-notch content. Highly, highly recommend. This is from Sambo401. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. It's also nice to hear we have high quality audio because when we first started, we definitely did not. So that's great.
Yeah, that is a good compliment to get of that we're holding our own in audio content. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Very true.
And also, if you'd like to leave us a review, like Sambo, we'd super appreciate that. You can do that on Apple Podcast or Podchaser, wherever they let you, but we'd really appreciate it, and, we'd rate it up top again as well.
Yep. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Very nice review. Cool. Yeah, I guess we'll jump in. The description, I'm going to read it. It's a longer one, so yeah. Here we go. I'm going to try to take a deep breath. Come back to Rapture, and the story that brings Booker and Elizabeth to the underwater city on the eve of its fall from grace. Developed by Irrational Games, the studio behind the original BioShock and BioShock Infinite, this DLC features Rapture as you've never seen it before, a shining jewel at the bottom of the ocean, built almost entirely from scratch in the BioShock Infinite engine. The combat experience has been rebalanced and reworked with a greater emphasis on stealth and resource management to give the player a combat experience that merges the best part of BioShock and BioShock Infinite. It includes a new weapon, an old favorite weapon from the original BioShock, as well as the return of the weapon wheel, a new plasmid, new gear and tiers. Explore the city when it was at the height of its beauty, meet some old friends, and make some new ones, all through the eyes of Booker DeWitt. Why are Booker and Elizabeth in Rapture? What was the city like before everything fell to pieces?
Awesome. Thanks. And then also, production note, which actually is in the description, but this is developed by Irrational Games. They did BioShock and BioShock Infinite. So this is kind of the main team. Because I guess 2K had maybe a different studio within the, company do BioShock 2. So, getting to be back to the kind of original dev team. So definitely cool that this is going on with these people.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a pretty fun DLC. I don't want to spoil too much. They did a good job, and it's nice because I feel like BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite were the two best BioShock games, so it's nice they brought them back.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this description, again, we won't get too into it, but I think like the description said, it is kind of the best parts of each of those games. I think they did really mold them. It's like BioShock Original has a cooler environment and stuff like that. Yeah. But Infinite definitely improved like gameplay stuff. Like the gunplay's a little better, different stuff like that. And this really does feel like a merging of those two.
Yeah, definitely. And just, Rapture is just so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to see totally ruined Rapture.
Yeah, it was fun to see it in a different way. So I guess, with that lead up, we'll just jump into our recap. So we're going to go through each episode, and I think there's a part where I'll acknowledge that episode 2 switches, but again, if you haven't played this, I would go play them. I think it's, 6 to 8 hours in total. It's not super long.
Yeah, and you'll kind of know when it switches. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least there's a definite break. Yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah, there's a definite break, and I think it even ends the episode when you play, kind of thing. Like, I don't think it auto shifts you into episode 2. So,
it definitely doesn't. But just someone listening to it, you'll know. Oh, this is probably the end of episode 1.
Yep.
Just based on what happens.
Yep. Cool. So we begin with Booker DeWitt as a detective in Rapture. So, alternate timeline, I guess, from the timelines we've experienced. Right, Booker is in Columbia in the previous BioShock, in BioShock Infinite, and he wasn't in Rapture.
I think he was in normal society because they remember at the beginning of Infinite he takes that blimp thing up there. So now he's actually somehow living in Rapture already.
Right.
Which is new.
Yeah, which is new. And Rapture is actually doing pretty well. As we mentioned, it's pre-Frank Fontaine Rebellion, and so you go, and it's sort of the, rich people heaven that Andrew Ryan designed it to be.
Yep.
The free market, and everyone's like, just enjoying everything being nice kind of thing. Like, Rapture's doing great, so to speak. And the game really begins with Elizabeth coming into Booker's office to investigate the disappearance of a girl named Sally. And Booker is kind of like, how do you know about Sally? And she's like, it doesn't matter how I know. This is my job for you. I need you to do this. And Booker's like, okay, fine, basically. And so you and Elizabeth kind of team up and start going through Rapture together.
Yeah, and like you had mentioned, it's this kind of dips into BioShock Infinite with like the multiple timelines. It in my mind it gets a little confusing later on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just remember like it's Elizabeth has the weird time travel-y power, but she doesn't actually hear, right?
Yeah, I don't think she does. Right? Well, maybe. That's
yeah, it's weird.
maybe partway through the episode it changes, because I guess she uses the tears at times with Booker.
Okay.
But right, because Elizabeth can tear into different realities, so this is a version of Rapture. I guess this is probably what Rapture was like pre-fall either way, but then I'm sure there's versions of Rapture where Andrew Ryan wins, where Frank Fontaine wins, where, whatever. I'm sure there's a bunch of timelines, because as we've played in other games with time, it seems like it can just kind of keep going, and every event can be split multiple times, especially if you have someone like Elizabeth who can jump through them and impact them.
Yeah, and then see, the different outcomes of different things. Yeah.
Right, because it seems like with Elizabeth, her thing with the tears that's interesting is she can go to realities she's never been in before. It's not like I can time travel, I don't know, either to only places I've been before, or like, I don't know, in a time machine and you come out in the same location in a different time. Instead, Elizabeth can just kind of hop through to wherever the fuck.
Yeah. But I think with her, she's in every timeline. Like, I don't know if she could go to a timeline where she doesn't exist. And I don't know if that's because she doesn't exist or she exists in all of them, or if she just, obviously wouldn't know about one she doesn't exist in. I'm not sure. I guess, this is a rabbit hole. It's great. Yeah. I don't fully understand how it works. So. You're right. Rabbit hole for sure. Here are us trying to guess about time and how it works. But I guess with that, we're not smart enough to understand or know these things. So
yeah, there are definitely people who are smarter and understand it better, and also probably explain it better. But we'll continue with their investigation, which is Elizabeth says Sander Cohen might have a lead, which we remember him from BioShock. He was like the guy who did insane surgeries on people, right? And that he wanted to make like the perfect human. So there's just all these butchered people because he's like trying to perfect humanity, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's fucking weird. Really into theater, like just a weird, strange, eccentric nut job.
Yeah, weird as hell. And this really starts, it's cool having him show up, but then this starts this trend where through the game you start to see other characters that you met in the first BioShock, which is cool because BioShock was full of cool characters. So, like notable people of Rapture. So it was kind of fun to run into him pretty early on. And he's having this giant party, but you need a mask to get in, which these masks are like the ones that all the what were they called? Splicers, yeah. Yeah, there we go. As like the drug addict people. Yeah, the splicers. Yeah, the splicers. The splicers were wearing a lot of these in the game. So even, again, being like, oh, this is before all that. But you need to get a mask to get in, and so you visit a couple local stores. It's the party that Sandra Cohen is having is for like all of the people in the marketplace, so to speak, anyone who's a business owner kind of thing. And you have to have the mask to be able to get it in. So we go to a couple different stores. Ultimately, we find one that does have a mask, and we steal it and make it into the party. Inside the party, Cohen is doing this weird like performance art where he's making people like dance, and then when they don't do it right, he just like zapped them and they get pulled away on like a rope. And so,
yeah, very weird.
Yeah, super weird. And so we're like trying to be like, hey, do you like know about this? And he's like, well, I'll tell you if you do my art. And we're like, all right, fine. So Booker and Elizabeth are dancing for a minute, and then they don't do it to his satisfaction, and he shocks them, and they pass out. And they wake up, and Sandra Cohen's with them, and he sends them down in a bathysphere. And is like, okay, this is where she was last I knew. Sally was in Fontaine's department store. That's where she got sent, kind of thing. And so they're a little surprised that Cohen held up his end of the bargain. But we're like, okay, that's good, I guess. So this bathysphere takes them down to Fontaine's store. And what we find out is that Andrew Ryan actually like separated part Fontaine's like section essentially of Rapture from Rapture, just like blew it up, and now it's at the bottom of the ocean instead of in above sea level, or not above sea level. It's still underwater, but
the same level
less
as,
down.
That's definitely not the scientific term, but yes, less down than the other parts.
Right. Well, only Fontaine's on the floor, right? Everything else is raised, I don't know, a mile or something, whatever.
Yes, something like that. Or at least it's on other parts of the ocean floor that aren't as low. Yeah, he's down in like a crevice or something.
Right, because it was sort of a punishment of like, okay, well, now you're not even part of Rapture. Go be at the bottom. And you can't...
Which is a pretty good solution, actually. I mean, if you hate some guy, just send him down, send him away.
No, yeah, super smart, because they can't get into Rapture again. That's great for them. And also, I can't imagine that they have any transportation that they can get out. Like, they're just gonna live and die at the bottom of the ocean. Like,
yeah,
that's it. I mean, I wouldn't think they can get out, or if they can, it's not like they can get out and escape.
Yeah, you'd have to wait for some boat to come down or something.
Yeah, it would just be super unlikely. So, yeah, smart by Andrew Ryan, essentially turning it into a prison and just sending it to the ocean floor. So, we arrive, though, at Fontaine's store, and it's pretty crazy down here. This is more reminiscent of BioShock, the first game when we played it. There's there's splicers everywhere. It's kind of full chaos. And so, the niceness and, I don't know, aim of Rapture of what we had just experienced, now we're back to how we're used to it being. So just interesting kind of experiential thing. We see pre-Rapture fall and they're like, oh, okay, this is familiar again. And
yeah, it's very much like, it's almost like ground zero of previous Rapture that we had seen in Rapture, the first game of BioShock. It's like it's almost like all the splicers came from here.
Yeah.
Or that's kind of the feel I got.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It does seem like that, is that they're just, going wild down here. And so we search around for a little bit, and we find Sally in one of the vents. And Elizabeth says that we can close all of the vents except one in the main room, and we'll like turn the heat up a little bit in the vents, and that will make Sally come out, and then we'll be able to get her out, because she's a little sister at this point. And so little sisters, of course, don't come out for anyone except for big daddies. So this is sort of their plan to be able to try to get her back. And you go around and fight a lot down here for a while. You have to do not fetch quest, but essentially you run, you find a vent, you shut it, you kill all the splicers on the way, you level up, you get some better stuff. Not level up, but you level up your plasmids and stuff. Not level up as in your rating. You're always the same. But
yeah, you add some points into your strength and
right.
stuff like that.
Exactly. Your resolve increases.
Yeah.
But you get better abilities, you get better weapons, and kind of kill your way around through this area, shutting the vents. Ultimately, you shut all of them, and you enact your plan. Elizabeth wants you to turn on the heat, and you don't want to, actually. You're kind of like, this seems messed up. Like, we shouldn't do this. And Elizabeth's like, no, we have to. And you're like, all right, fine. And she does it, and you try to pull Sally out of the vent, and you discover she's a little sister. I was ahead of the game. I said she was a little sister.
Yeah, I assumed that if she's in the vent, she's a little sister.
I'd assumed that as well. But you pull her out, and you see it's official. She's got, like, the yellow eyes and all of that. And she calls for her Big Daddy, and is like, Mr. Bubbles, help. And you have a boss battle with a Big Daddy, and it's definitely a little tougher because, in the previous games when you start fighting Big Daddies for real, at that point I have a lot better stuff. Here, but I didn't think like Booker was as equipped. It still works out, but it's definitely tougher.
Yeah, I used to, like, when I would play through the first one, I would avoid them. Until I had a lot of good shit. But, this one felt like a leveled up Big Daddy. Like level 10 Big Daddy. Mm-hmm. And we had, like, not level 10 gear. That is difficult.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And you fight the Big Daddy and win. And then afterwards you go try to get Sally. And Booker realizes that he's Comstock in this. So, again, in BioShock Infinite, you find out that Booker and Comstock are the same person. Booker has the same realization here. And you find out kind of background that Comstock had worked with the Lutises, who were in BioShock Infinite. They were the twins, to take Booker's daughter, Anna. But it ended up having her head cut off because the portal closed on her head. In the last game, it happened to Elizabeth with her pinky finger. Here it cuts her head off, which is horrible.
Gruesome.
Yeah, super gruesome. And Booker kind of has this like realization of how bad he's been and what he's done wrong kind of thing. And Elizabeth is furious at Comstock for this, and then a Big Daddy drill just goes through Booker's chest, which I think I think Elizabeth made happen, is the impression I got.
Yeah, how did she make it happen? Like, I think that is true, but I don't understand how that actually works.
Yeah, I wondered if she somehow like used a plasmid that could make something move. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Huh. Yeah.
But either way, you see Booker get impaled by the Big Daddy drill, and he just like bleeds out, and Elizabeth's been yelling at him and is mad.
Just watches him die.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Just watches him die. Pretty crazy. It does happen here. So that's the end of episode 1. Booker gets killed.
Yeah.
Episode 2 begins, and it's a flashback to Elizabeth living in an idealized Paris. It's really nice. Everyone knows her. She like walks. It's so weird playing in a like nice version of this game. Elizabeth just walks around, and everyone's like, "Hi, Elizabeth," and they're really nice to her. Everything's nice. People are like painting. Elizabeth has the life here. It's going great.
Yeah.
It was really weird to experience kind of as you're walking, because you're like, all right, when's someone going to start shooting at me or something? Because that's...
Yeah. We're the crazy nut job splicers.
Yeah, but none of it happens. It's just pretty nice. And then you end up seeing Sally, and Elizabeth starts chasing after her, trying to find her, and Elizabeth loses her. And so Elizabeth is haunted by Sally being lost. And then it switches you back to the present, and a vision of Booker comes to Elizabeth and helps her avoid being killed by Atlas. So Atlas and his men show up, and they've got Elizabeth down on the ground. They take Sally and they're trying to come up with like a plan to be able to get back to Rapture and take over. That's sort of their goal. And Elizabeth, from Booker's like apparitions advice, basically.
His Force Ghost.
his Force Ghost, for real, basically. Says, I can tell you what you need to do to stop being sunk. I can get you raised up back there. I'm Shu Chong's lab assistant, and if you let me and Sally go, I'll be able to get you what you need and get you back up to Rapture. And Atlas is like, all right, fine. I agree. That works for me.
And I think Su Chong, this guy, was he the guy that made the Big Daddies? I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure that's what he did. Yeah, I think he made the Big Daddies. And he's from the original game too.
That's what I was trying to remember, like what his role was. I know he was one of the more important people in Rapture, but I couldn't remember what his task or job was.
Mm-hmm. And so Elizabeth starts walking around, and she finds her body, actually, which is pretty crazy. And she finds out that she was killed by the same Big Daddy that killed Booker earlier. So a timeline thing here happens. That allows...
Confusing.
that allows her to see her own dead body. And what she's kind of figured out in this is that she's only a regular person now. She can't do tears or anything like that, and now if she dies, she's just dead, kind of thing. So the best way I can think of it is that the Elizabeth that she saw that's dead was the original Elizabeth who could do the tears and go anywhere. Now that Elizabeth is dead, that like changes the game, essentially.
Yeah, I had trouble kind of understanding. Yeah, the timeline shit just kind of gets me. I can't wrap my head around it very well. I was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna roll with this. That's fine.
Yeah, for sure. I think the big thing that it did that was important for the game is it raised the stakes. Right now, you're like, okay, I can really die. They made it pretty clear, I feel like, in this that there's no going back. If this Elizabeth dies, it's over. And you also find out that Elizabeth was counseled to not do this, basically, is that like if you die in Rapture, like you're not going to be able to jump time anymore and all of that. You're going to be a regular person. So you're really undertaking a lot of risk for something that we don't really get and doesn't seem like a smart move.
Yeah.
So from here, you are going to find a device. So Su Chong has a device he made that has a tear to Columbia. And so Elizabeth goes around and gathers the parts she needs to be able to repair it to jump to Columbia. And also Elizabeth's fighting here is different than Booker's, right? So Booker, has all the guns and like aggressive killy abilities, essentially, plasmids. There we go.
Yes.
that we're used to. Elizabeth's aren't really that way. They're more like knock you out kind of stuff.
Yeah. She's definitely more the stealth, like hide type player. The gameplay switches here a lot.
Yeah, it's noticeably really different. You're suddenly playing this game way differently than you could before, and it's not it's different enough. It's not like you can just do the same stuff. Like, oh, this is how I play as Booker. I'll play the same way as Elizabeth. You have to kind of change, which is cool. So Elizabeth makes it to Columbia. In Columbia, Su Chong has Elizabeth get a lock of hair from Fink's lab. And while she's there, she discovers that Fink and Su Chong were sharing information. So they were kind of the two scientists in their respective cities. They somehow got a tear to each other, and so they just shared information to kind of build up everything more and more.
And do we meet Fink in BioShock Infinite? I feel like we do. I just can't remember.
I think we do. I don't remember them, so I imagine it must have been shorter. But
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
And within that, you find out from like their research that the Big Daddies, a like tip to make the Big Daddies work, came from Fink, and a tip that made the Big Bird thing in BioShock Infinite was a tip from Suchong to kind of make that work. So it's interesting that these games again influencing each other through these characters in the background. She also finds out that Daisy Fitzroy was instructed by the Luteces to take Fink's son hostage, to push Elizabeth to make a decision to kill Daisy and kind of move her to a mature mindset. So there's sort of this thought that Rapture, right? Or not Rapture, Columbia was having like a revolution that got started. We experience that when we get there in Infinite. It's crazy. But that there's a setup essentially to make Elizabeth not innocent anymore, not like a child anymore, by having her kill someone. And so she finds out that she was set up in the first place.
Did that happen in Infinite? I can't remember. Did Elizabeth kill someone?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I think it did, but I don't remember.
Yeah, this brought up like a lot of questions I'd forgotten about, or things I'd forgotten about from Infinite. Made me want to go back and like at least read some of the playthrough again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be good. I feel like that would be nice to be a little more refreshed on it, because I do feel like I still feel a little more familiar with the original BioShock than Infinite, even though I played Infinite more recently. But
to me the original BioShock was more like the story was more straightforward.
Yeah.
This Infinite, I definitely I think I liked Infinite more gameplay wise, but I think the story was a little bit harder. Again, the time jump stuff, I'm like, I don't what the fuck's happening?
Right, for sure. So ultimately Elizabeth gathers what she needs and she jumps back to Rapture, and she attempts to complete the deal with Suchong to be able to I got you what you needed, now you need to be able to bring us back up to Rapture. But Andrew Ryan takes over. He shows up on a big video screen and is like, this isn't a deal Suchong can make. I'm the one who makes deals, and tries to get you to do something for him, and you say no, and so he sends his men in, and you have to fight them. And he says that Andrew Ryan says he's going to destroy her and Atlas. Elizabeth fights off Andrew Ryan's people and ultimately makes it to Frank Fontaine's office. She releases the particle, and the sunken store floats back to Rapture. So we're connected again because of what we got from Suchong. And we do this. It's great. But then Atlas betrays us and captures
surprise.
Yeah. Atlas is a piece of shit, and he, of course, acts like a piece of shit.
It's also worth just maybe saying, unless we already have, that Atlas and Frank Fontaine are the same person.
Yeah, good point.
Atlas is like Frank Fontaine that got like a face reconstruction thing and whatever.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because he like faked his death, and then became Atlas and got his face reconstructed and stuff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So now that Frank Fontaine is back at Rapture, he's got his people trying to take over. Meanwhile, he has you captured. He tries to use a truth serum on you to have the ace in the hole be revealed. But it doesn't work because you don't know anything about this.
Yeah. Why would he... I was so annoyed. Like, why do you think I know anything? Idiot.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I think because he knew that we could use tears, or like he figured that out. He was like, oh, you must know this. And it's like, the me that did maybe know that is dead. So, I know that.
Yep.
But, yeah, so he's trying to figure that out. It doesn't work. So then he threatens to lobotomize you, which is pretty crazy. He like puts like an ice pick up to your eye and like taps it a few times and is like, all right, you're going to lose the things that make you you. And you're like, I don't know. And you're like freaking out. Oh my god, this is insane. This scene was wild. So then he's like, all right, fine. You say you don't know anything. I'll buy my Sally. And so he does the same thing. And Elizabeth says that the ace in the hole, she doesn't know what it is, but it's at Su Chung's lab, and I'll go get it for you. And he's like, all right, fine. And Elizabeth says, I'm going to do this for you. I'll get the ace in the hole, but then you've got to let me and Sally go. And he's like, all right, sure, whatever.
Well, why would I trust you again? It's stupid.
Right, yeah. So she arrives at Su Chung's lab and sees that Su Chung's been killed by a Big Daddy, and she takes this coded message, and she comes back, and she knows that Atlas is going to betray her, right? She's like, he's already done this, he's going to do it again, but she brings it, and Atlas hits her in the head with a wrench, and she reveals that the code is, would you kindly? And Elizabeth is fine with being killed by Atlas here because she knows that this will end up leading to his death ultimately. That Fontaine is going to go down because of Jack.
I forget, how does she know this?
I think she...
I assume it... Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it probably has to do with like the timeline stuff that original Elizabeth actually did know this.
Yeah. But it's weird that... I just didn't fully track with that when it happened. Like, I definitely understand. I remember Jack, like, that was who we played as, and we eventually do kill him, which is great. But yeah, I just was like, how would you know this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she knows that Jack will save the little sisters after this, that Elizabeth has won. She's like, although I'm getting killed by this wrench, in the end, you're going down. The little sisters will be safe. Like,
not in my playthrough.
We've done it.
In my first BioShock playthrough.
Harvested all of them?
Yeah, I definitely... Oh, fuck yeah, I did.
I don't think I did. Or maybe I harvested one because I didn't know if I was supposed to or not. But
yeah, I harvested every single one of them.
Yeah. I feel like this is sort of making that canon ending, which makes sense anyway.
Yeah.
But
it probably should be.
Yeah.
But... yeah, I obliterated all of them.
But yeah, the DLC ends here. So, I guess moving to some general thoughts. One thing I really liked in this was just that switch of turning into a stealth game. I thought that was really cool. From, being your kind of run and gun Booker to sneaky Elizabeth, like going, having to wrench people. But it would only work if you snuck up and wrenched them. You couldn't just like hit them repeatedly. You had to actually do the sneaking.
Yeah.
Or being able to use like a plasmid to knock them out. Or I think later you get like a gun with like sleeping darts or something. I forget.
Yeah.
So you do get stuff along the way. But I like that switch, and it was cool to get to play this game in two ways in a short span. Usually a game is heavily focused one or the other kind of thing, so it was cool to get to do both in a small short time.
Yeah, I definitely prefer like the run and gun. I like stealth if it's an option, I think, but I don't want to be forced to do it because there's certain times I'm like, I just want to kill this guy, it's taking too long. But I definitely did I think the stealth mechanics they had were good. And it was interesting seeing BioShock have a stealth component. I did like that little twist. I just think I'd prefer the, having the 8 different guns or 6, I forget how many, 4, and then having a bunch of plasmids and just lighting dudes up. I really enjoy that kind of play style.
Yeah, totally. And it makes sense. That's what that's what BioShock really is those things. So I agree. I wouldn't want it to like change. I don't want BioShock to become a stealth game instead. But it was fun for a few hours to play that way.
Yeah, definitely. Not a bad thing at all. Yeah, it was. I really like seeing Rapture before it got obliterated by the Civil War or whatever. That was really cool. I like that first, I don't know, couple hours in the first chapter, getting to walk through, see people being normal. No one's crazy yet. They're still using plasmids and stuff, but they're not addicted or whatever to it yet. I thought that was really cool, and it made me kind of want another BioShock game that would be Rapture or something like that, but not like post-apocalyptic. I'm not sure if you describe Rapture like that or not, but yeah, it'd be kind of fun to have like a full-length game of pre-Rapture fall. I don't know what you would do in it necessarily, but it was just really cool getting to see it be totally destroyed and then getting to see it be how it was originally made to be. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true. I feel like you could like, not that you go full this way. No one, they wouldn't actually make it, but like, I feel like you could just put a different genre of a game inside Rapture, and it would still probably be pretty fun. Like if you did like a Animal Crossing style game inside of inside of Rapture, like it would be sort of interesting. Like if it's like, you know, creating stuff and, you know, building things and blah blah blah, or just a walking sim inside of Rapture, or, you know, like I feel like other genres inside of that world would still be fun in a different style of game. Like I would be into that.
Yeah, or like if you could somehow like maybe if it was a different storyline, but if you could play in Rapture like right before the Civil War, kind of like this, but you got to either, you know, help it fall or preserve it, that'd be kind of cool.
Oh, that would be cool. And have like I don't know how you do this, but even if you had like different like a relationship scale of like allies or not with the different like key figures in Rapture, and like,
yeah,
oh, do we want to plan this revolt on Andrew Ryan or not? Like you said, that would be pretty cool. I would be into that. I think that Rapture is, I would say, still more to revisit even after this. Like if they wanted to do more stuff there, I would be interested in it. Like,
yeah, because I feel like we got to see a lot of it, but not. I mean, I feel like Rapture is huge. When you like first get down there, it's insanely big.
Mm-hmm.
So even in the first game, you don't even get to explore that much of it. I feel like they could flesh a lot more of it out if they wanted to. I don't know if they're going to make any more BioShock games, but if they did, I would for sure play more in Rapture. I feel like I'd play a lot more in Rapture.
Yeah, definitely. I read a book called BioShock Rapture that was about how Rapture got created, and it was pretty good. It was pretty interesting. Like, you got Andrew Ryan's backstory and all of these kind of characters and how he kind of pulled them together to do this. It was pretty interesting. I'd recommend it for sure. I think it was like, I don't know, 200 pages, 300. It wasn't like huge, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just Googled next BioShock, and they are officially making another BioShock game.
Yeah, I think a BioShock 4 that's supposedly open world is supposed to be coming out. So they're kind of changing what they're doing. I feel like I've heard two things about it. I've heard it could be open world. I've also heard talk of like a multiplayer game, which I'm interested in open world.
No.
I'm not interested in a multiplayer game. So I hope that they choose something I would be interested in, because I would love to play more BioShock.
Me too. Yeah, I would love, especially open world. I love open world games. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd be super about it. Another kind of comment I have on this one is I think this is one of the best DLCs that I've played before. Sometimes I feel like DLC can kind of feel like you're throwing some money for not getting a lot.
Yeah.
Or what you get is maybe not that great, but this was good. Like, this is a really good DLC, and we both bought, I think, the BioShock collection, so it just had everything on it. But if I would have bought this separately, I would have been into it and been like, I'm glad I bought this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I really liked how in this DLC they really tied together like Rapture and Columbia. Just seeing like the two scientist dudes, Suchon and Fink, like they were talking this whole time and connecting with Booker and Elizabeth, the Rapture, and with Jack, the person who plays in the first one. I just really liked how they intertwined all that really well, because none of it really felt like a reach either. The time stuff gets kind of confusing for me, but it's still like, made sense. Like, okay, I could see why this would have happened the way it happened. And like it makes sense why the characters did what they did, whatever. So I thought that was one thing that was really, really well done in this DLC that made it really enjoyable and worth it, is because it expanded the lore of BioShock and connected my two favorite ones kind of together and expanded it.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. It's like, yeah, just adding more. But it's not that, like, you don't miss out by not playing it either, right? So if you skip this, it's not like the original BioShock game or BioShock Infinite don't make sense anymore. They're totally fine. They're complete on their own, but this gives you a little more. And even being like, oh, wow, cool. Elizabeth had a hand in, Would You Kindly with Jack. That was cool. Like, that she ended up being involved.
Yeah. Did not expect that.
yeah, I didn't expect that. So I thought that was pretty cool how they brought the worlds together. I hope that, assuming there is a BioShock 4, and it actually happens and all that, I hope it still connects somehow, or we get references to the other games. That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I don't. They haven't said anything about where, like, the setting, right? Like, like a future forest city, or something like that.
I feel like the only thing I can think of that makes sense to me is space, but I don't know if there's something before. I don't know if there's something before space. Also, I saw this really funny thing online that was it was like game dev notes, and so it was BioShock, and it was the first one, and it was a water, and then under it had a house, and then it said next game, and it had a cloud, and then an arrow pointing up, and the house above the clouds. I thought
that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. Of like, okay, yeah, you're right. I mean,
they could do I wonder if they'll do like an underground one, like 10 miles underground. There's the city, so they'll just do like a dirt arrow house.
Yeah, that could work. I feel like it's in the ground, in space. I don't know where else you can go. Like,
I don't either.
Inside a volcano is one I think I thought of at one point. That might work, but
volcanoes aren't that big.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you'd have to have,
like you need a lot of space.
A huge one. Yeah,
they'd make a big one and then put stuff in it.
Right, our city is inside of it. Yeah, I don't know, because I guess it's the idea is that you don't find the cities, right? That they're like a utopia away, so to speak. Like,
yeah,
because BioShock, right? There's only that elevator that goes to Rapture, like, but it's in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't just find it, and you wouldn't probably just jump into it to go figure it out. Like, it's really remote. And then the same thing for Columbia, right? It's in the sky, so no one's going to find that either on accident.
Well, I mean, until airplanes are invented.
Right, yeah, that's true. I guess there aren't airplanes in that time frame, right? It's too early.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, because it was too early. Because it's in like the 30s or something? Or 50s? 40s?
Or before that. Yeah, I feel like 30s makes sense. I don't know when the first airplane was invented.
Yeah, I don't either.
But yeah, point being, there are places where you can't just walk into them and be like, oh, here's this really crazy city. You have to go way out of your way to find it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think it's you're up if you got another little bullet point.
Cool. Yeah, I've got one last one, which is just that our friends over at Good Game, Great Game, they have an episode on Burial at Sea. So if you want more Burial at Sea content, go check that out. I'm definitely going to listen to it this week.
Awesome. I got one more thing too. Cool. I feel like this was kind of a sad. Both chapters ended sadly. Like it was a bummer just seeing Booker get obliterated, and also seeing Elizabeth like being so pissed at him for something he did in the different. Well, that was one thing. That was a different timeline, Booker, wasn't it?
Probably.
Yeah. So like that was like it wasn't actually him. It was a different version of him. So I was kind of pissed.
Yeah.
Like Elizabeth, you should understand time stuff. You should know that's not actually him. Anyway. So yeah, it was just a bummer seeing. I like Booker. He was my favorite BioShock character. So seeing him just get killed was rough, especially going out like that. And then seeing Elizabeth get killed at the end too. I mean, it was hopeful, but I know how I played as Jack, and Elizabeth did not get what she wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like, yeah, it was sad to see them both go out. I didn't expect that at all. Um, I definitely assumed it would be very similar to Infinite, where we'd be Booker with Elizabeth the whole time.
Yeah.
So to to have them both get killed off and it just go badly, that was unexpected.
Yeah, it's kind of rough to watch, but
Yeah.
I do think it tied up all the loose ends and all that. It was cool because otherwise, we would have found Elizabeth in Rapture, probably as Jack, which would have made no sense. Would have made no sense.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I guess they can't be there. Like, they can't be alive and be there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, BioShock 1 would get weird. Like, how did that work then? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep, that's all I got for my
Cool.
general thoughts. That was good. Overall, really good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally agree. We've got a little bit of listener feedback. First up, we've got Vale on Twitter who says, I loved it, but I also felt like it tried too hard to tie everything together. I don't think it needed to be so intrinsically link so much of BioShock 1 and Infinite. However, I did find it quite interesting and engaging to see Elizabeth in all the situations. The emotional core of Elizabeth and Booker was heart-shattering. I adored it and cried at least twice. Plus, playing as Elizabeth and getting all of it from her perspective was fantastic. I know I'm a bit biased because she's one of my favorite characters ever, but, yeah, that's true. I really liked we've said it before, but I really liked getting to be Elizabeth. I think Elizabeth is a really good character, so it was cool to have her back. And yeah, like we said, the emotional scenes, the stuff with Elizabeth and Booker, those were really great to see. Even though they were like sad, both endings, those were hard hitting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was well done. I like I mentioned earlier, I did like how they tried to tie everything together. I think they did that pretty well. So I think I disagree a little bit with that, but I do agree. Elizabeth is probably my second favorite BioShock character. So, I think her and Booker together are great.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like if they would have done this and not wanted to tie things together, it would have been fine too. Like I feel like I could go either way. I like that they did because I appreciate like self-referential nods. I'm into that stuff. But if they chose not to do it, it would probably be just as good or better. I mean, like I think both work for me. I'm all for it. Like if they want to do it, cool. I'm good with it. If they don't want to, I'm good with that too.
Yeah, I just think I like the BioShock lore, a lot. So, anything that expands that, and like, cool, I'll eat that up. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Let's see. Last, Chris on Twitter said, the part where Elizabeth is put to sleep with chloroform gives me chills every time.
Yeah, that super creepy. I think that this game, playing this, was the time I felt most creeped out playing these games, which I felt like creeped out at different times playing the BioShock series, but getting chloroformed, the lobotomy, like the torture stuff, I was like on the edge of my seat. I was creeped out. I was pretty concerned. So like, well done by them. I didn't expect to feel that way playing a BioShock game, but yeah, they did a great job there.
Yeah, same. I feel like some of the reason you had that too is because you were playing as Elizabeth with like no powers. Like she's just not gonna fuck people up as much as like Jack or Booker did. So it's like you lost a lot of the power you had to not to be in those situations, or if you were to like get out of them and kill people. But because you were more vulnerable, like I think that made it more scary or jarring. At least that was my impression.
No, definitely. Yeah, I agree. I felt the same way. Cool. Well, that is BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea. Do you have anything else?
I do not. No.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, if you've got other thoughts on this DLC, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. Love to talk more on it. But yeah, you can get in contact with us on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Our website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. Previously, we've done all the BioShock episodes, so if somehow you're here but haven't listened to those ones, we've got ones on each of the main games and also the Minerva's Den DLC for BioShock 2. We've got that also, so definitely go check those out if you want more BioShock in your life. And yeah, if you'd like to support us financially, you can do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. There, for as little as $1 per month, that will get you access to bonus episodes we do each month. We've done things like our favorite Pokemon. We ranked our favorite characters in Telltale's The Walking Dead, stuff like that. So go check that out if you're interested. Like up top, if you'd like to leave a rating or review for us, we'd really appreciate that. It just helps getting the podcast in front of more people and get to enjoy these games more together with more people. Is a lot of fun. So if you'd like to do that, we'd appreciate it. And yeah, that's the episode, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.